Hey guys, sorry about that. My computer wasn't working and connecting properly, and then it died on me. So I'm using someone else's computer, and I'm quickly trying to see in how short of a time can I Web3ify this computer to get it to show everything that I needed to show. I'm going to sit down because I have to click on some stuff here. So let's talk about virtual land. Virtual land, I think the metaverse has gotten really, really interesting over the past few months, especially with the Facebook Meta announcement. And a bit about me and my background. So I'm actually a virtual reality developer. Back when I was in undergrad, I went to MIT and I was interning at the MIT Media Lab. So I worked on virtual reality experiences for urban planners and for architects. Basically, the idea was to create virtual realities where architects can come and design a city, a park, or a house, and then they could, inside the virtual headset, continue editing. So, you catch things that you normally wouldn't catch. We tested it with architects, and we saw that they design a house using Blender or Rhino or whatever platform, 3D modeling platform they would use. And then when they put on the headset, they decided, oh, this doorway should be bigger, or there should be a potted plant here, or there should be an extra floor, these stairs are too wide. Things that you wouldn't get as an architect or an urban planner, just like designing something from a screen. You really have to put on the headset to experience that. So when I started seeing all of these like metaverse projects come out, Decentraland, Sandbox, for me it clicked on pretty early, like, oh, this is the future, because these virtual worlds that people are already creating, now you have a way to tokenize them, and what is the value of virtual land? If you guys are familiar with it, so virtual land is this idea of you have a map, and you have a metaverse in that map where you have avatars that can walk around, you have buildings, you have NPCs that are also like part of it, you could have like wildlife, like creatures. Most people think of it for games, but I think Oculus has really been pioneering a lot of social VR. So if you guys are familiar with AltSpace, or I guess even in the old days, even before we had VR, we had things like Second Life, where people would come in and they get to be whatever they want inside the Second Life, which sounds very matrixy and very dystopian, and I think it could get that way very quick. But we also have to think about, the kinds of things that metaverses have done for people with disabilities. Or you think of like Second Life, there are people that are on wheelchairs or have Parkinson's, but because of the way they're able to interact with computers, they're able to work and they're able to like do things in Second Life. Second Life got really, really big. People would make their entire income from just designing clothes for Second Life or gathering resources and selling it to other people. Same thing with the MMOs. You look at World of Warcraft, you look at RuneScape. People would gold farm and they would sell it to other people. Now, back then, it was all super sketchy. I remember mining RuneScape gold and selling it for PayPal gift cards off the internet, and then switching that to selling it for Bitcoin off the internet. And you had to paste, you had to paste your Bitcoin address, they had to send you Bitcoin, you had to give them your access to your account for them to take the gold out, or you had to send them the gold in the game and just hope that they would send you the Bitcoin afterwards. So, you see something now like play to earn, and I don't think that play to earn itself is a new concept. Play to earn is this idea that as people are playing a game, they get to earn some token, which they can then either sell on the market or put back into the game, either access new characters. So Axie Infinity, which I can pull up here. Axie Infinity is one of these examples. People have been playing this game like crazy since the beginning of last year. And so you would download it as a mobile game, and these creatures are represented as NFTs. So these, let's see, where are they? They have a very dynamic website. You can battle with the different Axie creatures. So the creatures themselves are NFTs, and you battle. As you're battling, you're earning rewards. So kind of like proof of work, but instead of proof of work, it's like proof of that you're playing the game. And what's become interesting is that you have entire economies that have now come up. There are people, especially in developing nations, that are making more by playing this game than they are by their daily job. And so that becomes a very interesting direction for these games to go, it also shows that these are more than games for some people. So some people think like, oh, it's just games, it's just like silly stuff. But I think that metaverse-related NFTs, like gaming-related NFTs, actually show some of the most valuable use cases. Another project that I've followed really closely is called the Sandbox. So Sandbox is more like Minecraft. It's like Minecraft or Roblox, right? The interesting thing about Minecraft and Roblox is that after Minecraft got acquired by Microsoft, they announced a project called Minecraft Education. And so there's actually a lot of educators that are using Minecraft in schools to teach kids about circuits, to teach kids geography. They recreate like the city of Athens inside of Minecraft, and then they show kids, you know, this is the city of Athens, and this is geographic history of like wars and like, you know, the entire, like, very accurate. So like you can actually see and like really feel it with more than you can with like pictures or videos or just text on a screen. Same thing with a project called Roblox. So Roblox is another very popular game that's similar to Minecraft, where kids come in and make their own, you can make your own games, and you can actually publish your own games. And for a long time I thought, you know, why would people pay to use games like this? Because with Sandbox, it's a crypto native one. You have to buy the land, and then when you own the land, the land is represented as NFTs. When you own the land, you can deploy your own game on that land, and you can monetize it by charging money for it. So, you know, the first question is, would people pay for that? Like, this is microtransactions, right? Like, would someone pay to play the game every single time? Well, if you look at the economies of Roblox, Roblox already has their own in-game currency called the Robux, and you have to pay to play a lot of the games. So there's already a lot of players that are making an income off of Roblox. And by players, I mean like kids. Like there's kids making more than their parents were, you know? Like it's really crazy, like this digital economy that's popping up. So that proves the model out, that people are willing to pay to play these games. And on the Minecraft side, well actually on the, there's another game called Fortnite. And so it was really interesting, this whole like how the games are coming into the space, because Steam, so Valve, which makes Steam, they came out and they said, we don't want any NFTs coming in. This was like a month ago. No NFTs are going to be allowed in our marketplace, which is interesting because if you go to their marketplace, I got Steam again like recently, and I opened up one of the games, and you just get bombarded with ads, and it's like, download this skin, purchase this skin in our Steam store, buy this virtual plot in our Steam store, buy this, and it's, oh, now I get it. Now I know why they don't want NFTs, is because as soon as they integrate NFTs, they lose control of that market, right? They have the Steam marketplace. They want everything to be done with the Steam marketplace. Kind of similar to Apple, where Apple, any app that you install in the App Store, you have to use in-app purchases. This is why a lot of NFT projects are not allowed in the App Store to launch their own mobile apps. So that's an interesting challenge for us as an industry to overcome. But you have other game developers. The example is Epic Games, which makes Fortnite, and they came out and they said that we do want NFTs. And Epic Games has always been very supportive of cryptocurrency. They accepted Monero for payments for Fortnite for a long time. So like even before this whole NFT craze, they were very on top of it. So it's interesting that Fortnite is in on this in terms of like they want to, or they're considering the possibility of NFTs in the future. Also because they already have their own in-game currency as well called the V-Bucks. And there are a lot of kids that are making an income, even adults too, that play the game. They make skins and they sell skins, or they collect the skins by winning the games, and you can actually sell these skins. And so people are buying these skins because they want their avatars to wear it. So I think that projects like the Sandbox are the next generation of this, because the Sandbox makes it really easy to have a marketplace where if you're a 3D developer, or if you're a game designer, you can come, you can make models, you can sell them to other players, you can make your own games and monetize your games, and they even have like giant brands. So I came into Sandbox last year when the Care Bears announced a partnership with them. And what I thought was really interesting was that, you know, you buy these Care Bear NFTs and you can use them in your game. That's what actually it makes it. You know, it's more than just a collectible that you get and put in your wallet. You can actually put it in your game, and as you're playing the game, you can make a whole game around Care Bears. They had The Walking Dead that they partnered with a few months ago, and they had an entire competition where you can make Walking Dead themed games, like zombie themed games, with the Walking Dead intellectual property, and you were allowed to monetize it. So I think that this opens up the door to everything with tokenized intellectual property, which is a whole nother step that very few people are considering now. They partnered with Snoop Dogg, they partnered with deadmau. Adidas just came in and bought a giant plot of land inside the sandbox. So this is definitely going to expand a lot more. So to touch a bit upon like how the land actually looks. So this is an example of one of the maps. And so you can see that they create a world. All of this land that's on this is represented as NFTs. And you can come in and, if you want to own virtual land, or if you want to build something on this virtual land, you want to make a game, you can even buy the plot and rent it out to someone else. And this has exploded in popularity. The game or the trick, the thing to consider is like, where do you want a plot of land? And so this is where a lot of arbitrage opportunities come in, because some people just buy land and they sit on it and they don't realize the value that's underlying. It's broken up into districts. Atari, which partnered with Sandbox, they have a huge estate over here. Binance Exchange bought a lot of land back in the early days, and I think they're up over here. Here's the Walking Dead right here. So the Care Bears is over here. Binance, I believe, is like somewhere up here. Yeah, see, there's Binance. The Smurfs is farther down, is below Care Bears. And so it's interesting that it creates like geography. And so you actually have geography in this. And for context, I mean, this stuff has been exploding in popularity as people are realizing that, yes, you can actually deploy real games. All the stuff that you saw before in the kind of like the highlight reel of Sandbox, those are real games that you can make. They have a game maker where you can actually download it and run it, which is why I like them more than, well, I don't work at Sandbox, or I'm not affiliated with them in any way. So if you guys thought I was like just shilling Sandbox, I'll talk about other projects too. But they actually have a game maker that you can download and run, and you can make characters, quests. I would have shown you if I had my computer, but characters, quests, enemies, inventory, health, weapons, anything, like a full-on game you can make inside this thing. Each individual land, as you can see, like land -177, -50, those are coordinates like latitude and longitude. About last year, around this time, they were about $100 a parcel. In March, they were about $340 a parcel. It peaked, I think, a few days ago at $17,000 a parcel, and as of today, each parcel is about $13,400. It really, really took off after Mark Zuckerberg talked about, oh, we're rebranding to Meta, all of this interesting stuff that's happening there. Sandbox, I think, like tripled in price. The Sand token is also going up in price a lot. Sand is the token that's used for governance. For me personally, I'm more interested in the land because that's stuff that you can build on. Another metaverse that I want to touch upon as well is Decentraland. So Decentraland is actually older, and its use cases are wider. So Decentraland is not aiming to be just games. They want to do it socially as well. So if you think about like, all right, well, maybe I don't want to build games on my land. What else can I build? A lot of people have bought Decentraland land, two primary use cases. One is to build casinos. So you can have, like, think of like an online casino, but instead of just making the website, you can actually make it as an actual virtual location where you actually can go and play. So Decentral Games is one of the largest ones. So they have virtual poker where you can actually go and play digital poker inside. Your avatar is actually like holding the cards, and you dish out the cards, and you're betting ETH. You connect your MetaMask, you bet ETH, and then if you win, you get your money. If you lose, you give them your money. You, as the person who owns the land, if you have a casino on your land, you're the house now, right? You can be earning income from players that come and play on your casino. So that's one example. The other example is art galleries. So one of the cool things about Decentraland is that they have a builder built in as well. So you don't need to know how to code to put something in your land. You can just create a scene. If you go to builder.decentraland.org, you just create a scene, give it a name, whatever you want. How big do you expect it to be? So if you only have one plot of land, you could change it to just say 1, 1. And then when you create it, it gives you like a grass plot, but you can say, oh, I want the walls here. I want it to be this high. I want the door to be here. So, if you're making a casino, you can make a casino that way. If you're making an art gallery, you can also make it, just like a building. But what's really cool, and I don't know if it's going to load, but over here, you'll get some standard assets, but you can also import all of your NFTs. So if you collect NFT art and you want to showcase that, you can connect your MetaMask, and then you can import your NFTs as paintings. And so then when someone visits your art gallery, they can go up to your painting that you have inside that world, and if they like it, you can actually link to OpenSea. So they can just click on it through there, and it'll take you right to the OpenSea page. There's districts in Decentraland as well. There's Decentraland University. There's Vegas City. There's an art district. There's a crypto valley. Even this is being used a lot. I think Playboy actually did they did a virtual showing inside Decentraland right around the time that they were at Bitcoin 2021, because they have some NFTs of some centerfolds, and so they had a virtual tour that people would go from one to one, and they did an auction inside of Decentraland. deadmau did a concert inside Decentraland. If you want to build a casino, you could also build a nightclub. And I'll try to find the video of deadmau, because that was actually really crazy, because it's actually like all the lights, all the everything, and it had a stream of deadmau from his, I don't know where he was, but he had a DJ booth. And so you could see like the real deadmau. He was actually there playing. And then meanwhile, you're inside that with your avatar. And so this is very interesting, especially throughout all of COVID, when a lot of people were just staying at home. That's when a lot of more people started using these metaverses like Decentraland. But I think what's interesting now is that even though now we're kind of returning back to normal, going back out, there's even more interest now for the metaverse than there was before. So I think people are going to keep just integrating these kinds of experiences into their lives. Another example of something we did, so I run the Blockchain Education Network, which is a global 501c3 nonprofit that we create blockchain courses for university and high school students. And the students complete our courses online. We have blockchain clubs at different universities and high schools, and we also help students fly to blockchain conferences. We actually have 25 students that we brought to this conference, and like half of them are like high schoolers. And we have an Airbnb for the ones that are coming from out of state, so they're staying at the Airbnb. We got them tickets to the conference. They're here networking. We're doing a whole podcast thing. But the way that we find these students, and for the students that don't get to come physically, we do a lot of events inside of virtual worlds. So we actually partnered with Decentraland, and we did an event recently with Harvard and UC Berkeley. And so it was a virtual presentation to teach them about Uniswap. And you have the students with their avatars coming into this world, and then you have a Zoom call being streamed into the world. So inside the world is a live stream on like a virtual projector screen. There's like multiple levels of like meta, which I think is like really cool. And also in terms of accessibility, right? Like you don't want to just come in a Zoom call where you're just like sitting there. I think another big advancement is spatial audio. So one of the cool things about this is that when you get close to someone else, you can talk to them. And your clusters, you have like different clusters where you can join like group chats, just talking to them. As opposed to like a Zoom, like if you have a 30-person Zoom call, one person talks, everybody else hears it. Even Zoom's trying to do this now with Zoom rooms, like breakout rooms, where halfway through the call, if you want to break out into rooms, you could have like 5 different rooms where you all break off into. This does it much more naturally, because if you want to break off into groups, you can say, all right, you're this group, go into this hall, this group, go into that room. And once you get far enough from another user, you stop being able to hear them. So you have it's a lot easier to say, okay, everybody at this virtual conference break up, go to a thing, and then come back. There's a lot of companies that have been doing conferences now that I mention it. A lot of these, I think even, I think it was one of the art galleries yesterday was streamed to Decentraland. So there was like a Decentraland party happening at the same time as the real party, which I think is, the potentials there are limitless. So one of the last things that I want to show is like actually how do you find these NFTs? Like where are they? Because I've actually been getting a lot of questions about that. So they're on OpenSea. If you go to OpenSea and you just search the collection, just like if you were to search an art collection or a collectible collection, you can search, for example, the Sandbox. So when you go to the Sandbox, That might take a while to load. When you buy these, you can do it in ETH or in any crypto. It depends on what, a lot of these are put for sale in Sand, which is like the local token. And for Decentraland, they do have their own marketplace. If you go to decentraland.org, you can see their marketplace as well. But the key things to look out for are like what are the coordinates and how close is it to a road and how big of a parcel you can get, right? Obviously, the bigger you want it to be, the more it's going to cost. But it lets your build space be bigger. Although I think there's an interesting development now happening with virtual reality. I think people seem to really want to create the same world that we already have inside VR, which is why it can get very dystopian. But I think that the way to really think about virtual reality is you can create worlds that don't exist right now. There's a lot of advancements in non-Euclidean experiences. And so what that is like in the real world, every time you open a door is the same thing behind it. But in VR, you can make it so that every time you open a door, it's something different behind it. You can make it so that if you have like a pole and I look around the pole once, it's like one world. Or if I look around the pole the other way, it's a different world. I think, well, the best example is like, let's say you're in a small apartment. You have a VR headset, you're in a very tiny apartment. You can make a racetrack. And like, how would you make a racetrack? Is you make a racetrack, and as you're like walking down the racetrack, your headset, the virtual world, is slowly rotating around you. So while you think you're walking in a straight line for miles, you're actually walking in circles in your apartment. And so you can create giant spaces, like unlimited spaces, inside very small real world spaces. So there's a lot of interesting stuff around that. Like if you're walking, it makes the background move, or you could have an infinite house. That stairwell, I don't know, what's the famous stairwell that's like a paradox that like it just goes up forever, but it like doesn't make sense. It's like an illusion. Those things can actually exist in VR. You can visualize tesseracts and like see what they look like inside of VR. So I think that there's a lot of potential there, and especially as like we get to worlds like this, and it's not loading, so I'm just gonna keep talking. As it gets to worlds, as these worlds become more part of our lives, the land rush, I think, is going to happen. We've already seen it happening. But it's not about just buying it and holding it. The coolest things is to buy it and build something on it. Or if you want, you could buy it and rent it to someone else, and they can build something on it. Then you get a percentage of the royalties. That's an entire business model. There's entire companies that are popping up now that solely deal in virtual real estate. Look at Republic Labs. Like Republic has many different funds, and they help you get into token sales as accredited investors. They started a new fund called Republic Realm that exclusively looks at virtual real estate. They just created like this yacht, like this virtual yacht that you could like purchase. And I don't know if they auctioned it off or they sold a fixed amount, but you can have vehicles inside of Decentraland and inside of Sandbox. That's where all these brand partnerships are happening, right? Like I mentioned, Adidas just bought a giant plot of land inside Sandbox, and that announcement came about 30 minutes before they announced that they partnered with Coinbase as well. So everyone's speculating that they're probably going to launch their NFTs on the Coinbase NFT marketplace when that comes out. And inside of Sandbox, they're probably going to make it so that your avatar inside of Sandbox can wear virtual Adidas shoes. And so it becomes, a fashion trend. Think of it like cars. Any car can partner with them. Now that Adidas says something, everyone's waiting for Nike to say something. And after Nike says something, everyone's going to wait for New Balance to say something. I think that having a presence in the metaverse is going to be like owning a website. Like it really is like a race for everyone wanting to adopt it. You look at a lot of the PFP projects like Bored Apes. It's like, yeah, this is fun and you can do things with it, but they partnered with Sandbox to now make it so that your Bored Ape can be a playable character inside the game. There's actually a lot of PFP projects that are doing this as well. The CyberKongs and like all these like different projects, like they're saying, oh, we need a utility because people are buying the collectible, they made it their profile picture, now what? What's next? Let's make it a character in the game, or let's make it a playable character. So I think that gaming NFTs are the future, and metaverse-related projects are really like pushing this forward. Yeah, and this ended up not loading, but if you did want to check it out, you just go to OpenSea, just like buying any NFT. You would go to the Sandbox or to the Decentraland collection. You go through the land parcels, pick one that you like. It's charged in ETH, so you connect your MetaMask, and you can just buy it through there. And if you guys have any questions about how like that stuff works, our organization teaches, we teach high schoolers and university students mainly, but our material's free and online. We have lessons for like how to use MetaMask, how to use OpenSea, how to get started with Uniswap. That's just blockchainedu.org. So yeah, thank you guys. And I'm ready if there are any questions related to this. Yes.
You said you go on and you pick land that you like, but I've been on there and it's a completely different language to me. How do you decide what piece of land you like? A lot of things are the same prices, they looks like a bunch of scribbles, a bunch of lines on there. So how do you know what's more valuable versus the other? How?
I think it is similar to the real world, is that once you learn a bit about the geography, you can start seeing the different districts and the zones that are kind of like popping up. The first things first, for Decentraland, there are roads. And so on the roads, people are not allowed to build on the roads. So those roads are always going to be open. So if you buy land that's close to the roads, those are usually bought and sold at a premium. The second thing is these districts, right? When Binance announced that they were buying up all this land in Decentraland, everybody wanted to buy their land next to Binance. When Snoop Dogg announced that, he's like, "Hey, I got my Snoop mansion in the, the doggy mansion in the sandbox." Everyone was like, "Oh, I want my land next to Snoop Dogg." So these kinds of like cultural, people are buying land, and then it just makes the land around it more valuable. Very similar to Dubai, right? Dubai was a desert, and then people were building like these hotels, and then people were like, "Oh, there's hotels here. The land's going up in value. Buy this land, and then build more stuff to make the land around it be valuable." So I think like if you're not sure what to buy, then either go for the cheapest one, because you're always going to be able to sell it at the floor price. So I wouldn't pay more than the cheapest, right? More than the floor price. But if you're familiar enough with the ecosystem and you're like, "Oh, this is definitely premium," or "This is worth this premium, and this is why I think it's worth that," then you can go and spend the extra for like a more like premium parcel. Yeah.
So follow up to that question. So in the real world, I get why being close to a shopping mall or something makes land more valuable. In the metaverse, where you can just click somewhere else, what gives it that premium to be close to something valuable?
Yeah, so the teleportation thing is interesting, right? Because you could just teleport anywhere across the map. So I don't ascribe necessarily more value to adjacent parcels. For me, I think it's more about I don't ascribe to exactly where it is on the map. Like, you could be off in the corner of the map because people can just teleport to you. I think it's more about adjacent parcels, because when you have adjacent parcels, you can connect the land together and build bigger experiences. If you're going to make a big shopping mall, which is another interesting use case. Like, if you're into drop shipping or Amazon affiliates, you can set up a virtual store, and when people go up and see the items, oh, these shoes or this sweater or whatever, you can have a link to Amazon, and that could be an Amazon affiliate link. You just click on that link, and then it takes you to the Amazon store. But if you want to make a big experience, a big mall or a big casino, you need land that's next to each other. And there's some squatting that's happening because some people are buying the land around someone else because they know that oh, this person probably is going to want to make their casino bigger, but I own the plot right next to it. So if they want to make it bigger, they're going to have to buy it from me. So that's a strategy that you could play. Okay, other questions? Yes.
Do they sell the roads also, or only the land?
They don't sell the roads. They sell only the land.
I believe Uplift is selling the roads. I believe so. So in that case, if you buy the roads, people to go through your road will need to pay you?
That would be a good way to set it up. I think they should do it that way if they're not doing it that way. But yeah, toll roads, right? Having toll roads, I think is interesting. And I think people also do a lot of advertisements. There are digital billboards that you can rent out in Decentraland and in all these other metaverses. There's a bunch of them. There's CryptoVoxels, Somnium Space. The cool thing about CryptoVoxels and Somnium Space is that you can already try them out in VR, whereas Decentraland is just still on the screen. But yeah, I think every metaverse right now is doing something interesting and different, and so it's worth trying to explore the different ones and seeing what gives each one of them land value.
What will be your sequence of the virtual land?
So
to give us an idea, based on your experience, to give us an idea, all of us, you will say, okay, first I go for this one, second, third one.
yeah, I think personally, I like the sandbox the most because it's gaming related. Like it's specifically, we're going to make games. So it's like, okay, this can be as big as Roblox at least, right? Decentraland is like right next to it because it's more focused on social VR. So I think you have all these use cases that were mentioned, but I think, like casinos and art galleries and museums, education, I still think that gaming is bigger than that. Just from the sheer amount of gamers that there are, and you look at like the market cap of similar products like Fortnite or Roblox. So I think that sandbox definitely my number one, Decentraland is my number two, and then like all the other ones are fighting for third place. Okay, yes, you had a question.
I'm hearing a lot of people talking about, since looking at the sandbox, how much it appreciated the lots to build their own metaverse. Does that make sense? We're real estate developers and we're trying to get you to start developing. Does that make sense to just build your own and start off, or does it make sense to just go ahead and pay for the expensive plots?
Yeah, I think it all depends, right? Like if you have a community of people that you know are going to come in and start building on it, because it's like building a platform, right? Building a platform building a platform is only as good as the developers that come in and build on top of that platform. So if you make your own metaverse and put it out there, yeah, maybe you'll own on the land, but if no one else is coming in and building stuff in it, then you just own a lot of like nothing land. So I think it's better at this point to work with the metaverses that already exist in terms of like the land. I think they've done a really good job of laying out that infrastructure. There's always going to be room for like new entrants, but I think at this point, the more interesting innovations come in what can be built on that land and what kinds of experiences you can make for people. Yes, you back.
Quick question. So is the land on the sandbox or any of these metaverses, is it already scarce, or can they just continue making land on these metaverses?
That is a good question, and that is also something that you should look into for each individual metaverse because each one works kind of different. For Sandbox, I think they can't make more, but they also haven't sold all of it yet. So they're still doing auctions every now and then. They're reserving it for like partners and like launching for future things. Well, Decentraland actually, I think they already sold off all of their land, so it's all like user owned.
It's all second market now.
Yeah, it's all second market now. Sandbox is still doing first person auction, but yeah, as with any NFT, you should look into like, can they make more? Because that's actually a really big deal. A lot of people think their stuff is unique, but then the developer comes out and makes more of it, and they're like, oh, I thought it was an NFT, so you couldn't make more. That's not necessarily the case. It depends on how they set it up when they created it. Yes, you back there.
Have you seen any mechanisms that level the playing field? Like when I see that board, I see a lot of like big brands coming in, and it's like kind of a money game in a sense for access. Like have you seen any mechanisms to level the playing field in these virtual worlds?
Yeah, I think in terms of inclusivity, I think that there's a lot around renting, because at this point, right, buying your own parcel is $13,000, at least in Sandbox, and so that's definitely gonna lock out all the kids, right? Like, how do you, as a kid, get started on this? But I think there are a lot of interesting programs and entire companies that are founded around this idea. Look at, like, for example, Yield Guild Games, where what they do is they provide scholarships for people that want to get started in these metaverses and start playing to earn or building or creating things, experiences. They'll loan you that land or loan you the Axie or loan you that NFT to help you get started. And then the idea is that you make enough wealth for yourself that you can then go and buy your own. So I do think that while prices are going to keep going up, as more and more programs like this come out, that's going to help kind of keep the playing field level. Okay. Okay, yeah.
Is there a place to go like that aggregates land listings for different metaverses? Or do you have to go to each individual metaverse and find out what's for sale?
Yeah, well, that's a good startup idea, right? I think that it's so early. I just noticed Antonio there. What's up, dude? You made it from the airport. He came from Lisbon, got stuck twice, part of all the students. I think that there's so few tools. A good one is called Parcel. So I don't know the website. You have to look it up. I think it's like meetparcel.xyz. That could be a scam site, I have no idea. But the company is called Parcel, and they're really good because they're branding themselves as the Zillow of the metaverse. So you go and you can compare listings across different metaverses. But like I said, yeah, it's so early. So I think that some really great startup ideas right now are aggregators and analytics tools. Like I'm just like every few days I tweet out like, oh, here are all the current prices of all these land, in different metaverses, because people don't know that. Like I was just keeping track of it myself in a Google sheet. But yeah, I think companies around that, and that's definitely a new business model that people can do. One more, okay. Yes.
Okay, thanks. I do have a lot of questions. I will try to be quick. I wrote them down, so. If we have a business model idea in the real world and we want to replicate this idea in the metaverse, how simple is it to program that idea, and like what kind of skill set we need to look out for if we don't want to hire like a developer, and like do you have any advice for that?
So it's interesting because even just a year ago, the answer would be very different. If you asked this question a year ago, even just to make an NFT, you would have to know how to code and like deploy the contract yourself. And to build something on this, you'd have to create an experience on Unity, right? Now, all of these drag and drop tools, OpenSea, Rarible, they have their own NFT minters. You can even upload 3D models. So, if you have a 3D modeling background, or if you have a develop experience with CAD, Blender, Unity, Rhino, like any of these softwares that you use to make games or make 3D models, you're already at an advantage because you can come and make your own. If you don't, then some of these metaverses like Sandbox and Decentraland, they have their own built-in drag and drop makers where you can just drag and drop, like, oh, I want this house. And then the last resort, well, I mean, you could also hire people to do it, but there's also an interesting secondary market of people just buying and selling these models. It's like you can go, there's a company, I forget its name, but this company is really cool because they make virtual houses and they sell those virtual houses. So if you have a plot of land and you want like a nice like penthouse, but you don't know how to make one, you can go and buy a penthouse. And then that penthouse itself is an NFT. So maybe there's only like 4 of them. So only 4 of those can exist on the map. And so you own one of 4. Or you can make it just one, and then you own that exclusive house that you made. You can commission it to get it made for you for whatever it is that you want to do. You could hire someone full-time to do it. There's a lot of flexibility. And I also think there's a lot of talent, because there's a lot of former like 3D modelers that are coming into this and are like, oh, wow, here's a way that I can be involved and make money off of this too.
But these are like really high-level development. But if we want to like push it more, are they like really open enough to develop on this platform, or?
If you want more, probably not like as freelance, right? You'd have to bring them onto a team and kind of explain. I think there's a lot of education that has to be done around why the metaverse is worth building on and why it's worth putting the time to create more advanced experiences. Like if you want to make interactables, right? Like if you want to make a poker table that actually works as a poker table, that's a lot more involved than if you just want to deploy like a static house that you can just walk in and around.
And which one do you recommend? Which one is better right now to develop?
Like which metaverse or which?
Yeah, exactly.
I think, like I said, I think that Sandbox is better for games. Decentraland is better for like casinos, art galleries. Because Sandbox has like a pixelated thing. It's like a Minecraft look. So not everything might render well. Like a casino would be kind of weird because like you wouldn't be able to look at the poker cards. But Decentraland is more like high definition because that's like kind of what they're focused on. CryptoVoxel's Somnium Space, same way. It's like very like high res, like it's just like trying to mimic what the real world has.
But is there a danger if we develop everything on one platform and one day the platform disappear, or I don't know, just goes off?
Yeah, if they disappear, I mean, you can take those assets with you and put them into a different metaverse. So that's also pretty cool. Like your Axie Infinities, you can import them into your Decentraland. And right now, it's just paintings. But imagine a future where you import your Axie Infinities from this game maker into your Decentraland. Now they're like actual Axies, like pets, like walking around. And so that's part of like why building on blockchain is like very future-proof, is because even if the game disappears, those assets are still there, and you can put those into a different game.
Thanks.
Yeah. And in terms of which metaverse to build on, they're all good options. Just don't build on Facebook's metaverse. That's like the one. That's the one you should not build. Okay, awesome. I guess we're done here. Last thing I just wanted to say is that one of the things that we did in terms of teaching students about NFTs was in Puerto Rico, we actually partnered with the Boys and Girls Club to teach them how to mint NFTs. So we had a bunch of students, like teens, 13 to 18, mint their own NFTs. They did like the art piece. And one of the things that we're going to do is in our virtual plot of land that the Blockchain Education Network has, we're going to make a virtual gallery where you can come and see like, oh, these are the different art pieces that these kids have made. And we're going to sell them. We're going to auction them off, raise money for Boys and Girls Club and for Blockchain Education Network. We're doing an art auction here at Art Basel on Thursday. There's a great event that's happening. I can pull it up on the screen as everyone's like leaving, but also I'm hanging around here, so if anyone has more questions, I'll be around. You can come up and chat, or you can get the info for the event, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.